Welcome to the Caregivers Journal. I'm your co-host, Lance A. Slatton. I am joined, as always, by my esteemed colleague and friend, Cindy and Christina Hardin-Weiss of Adaptive Equipment Caregiving Corner. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Hi, Lance. Good to see you, Lance.
Always great to see you guys. Today we have two special guests, Heidi and Marielle. They are the founders of the Instagram page, Dementia Talk with M&H. Welcome, ladies. How are you today?
We're okay.
Hi, lovely to see you.
Thank you for having us on your show.
Always. It's our pleasure. You know, it's always great to welcome our friends from across the pond. If our viewers and listeners haven't figured it out, you're from England. Welcome.
Yep.
And I want to start off, though, first you with Marielle. Can you share a little bit about your story briefly for our audience and viewers who may not be familiar with you?
Yep, I sure can. So my name's Marielle. I'm a mother and a daughter of a lovely lady who sadly has Alzheimer's. She will be 92 in September, and she started her Alzheimer's journey about nearly 10 years ago now. And I started caring for her and my family. My husband was involved in looking after her for the first sort of 7 years. And then it got to breakdown point and we had to get some care in. So that's part of my journey. But the other side of it, with my other hat on, is that I have a background in the NHS and in social care. And so that has helped in a way to understand my mum's journey. And my mum's journey has also helped me understand how we were working there. And it's just, we feel that we just want to help people and we want people to know that they're not alone. This is a really hard journey. It's not a journey I'd wish on anyone. But you've just got to keep going, take each day as it comes.
Absolutely.
And I think to bring some light in a very dark situation, and I think that's why both of us started
definitely.
this.
Yeah, and to bring some humor into it sometimes as well.
Yeah.
Well, and Heidi, you're the H of M&H. So for our viewers and listeners, share a little bit about your story and background.
Well, I'm Heidi, and I come from a different background to Marielle. I used to be a television producer back in the day, worked for Travel Channel and Thompson TV. And my mum's Alzheimer's probably started about 9 years ago. My dad passed away very suddenly. At the time, my son was only 4, and she'd be showing symptoms of cognitive decline probably about a year before he passed away very suddenly. And I was plunged into the role of caregiver very quickly. And it's been an incredibly hard 9 years. Marielle and I had met when our kids were little at a local playgroup. Yeah. And our mums started getting symptoms quite more or less the same time. Yes. Your mum was a little bit ahead of it. Yeah. And that's why we decided to launch the dementia account a year and a half ago, because we felt that it's a very lonely journey being a dementia caregiver, especially when you're an only child, which we both are. Yeah. Because all the decisions you have to make, even the decisions, every decision about their finances, about what to do about care, if they're going to be cared for at home, if you're going to do it, if they're going to be in a home, everything has to be done by you. And it's an immense emotional burden. And we just want to help other people to know that they're not alone in it, which is also why I wrote my book, which is here, Milk Tulips, which I started as just notes on my phone. I used to sit in my mum's kitchen, sometimes in tears, because she'd been screaming at me or shouting at me, because dementia can present in very aggressive behaviours. And my mum is lovely, but the dementia made her very aggressive at times. And I would sit and write notes on my phone to kind of make myself feel better. Yeah. And also for when I spoke to the GP, because it took me a long time to get her a diagnosis. And one day I looked back at the notes, and some of them are really sad, some of them are kind of funny. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna turn this into a book. Yeah. So I'd already self-published one book, a book of poems, which is about my son actually, on Amazon. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to self-publish another book. And we launched the dementia account at a very similar time. Yeah. So it all kind of came together. And we're getting a nice little community now of people.
And we hope we're really reaching out to them. And for me, it was doing a video with the Royal Free Hospital. They contacted me and said, would you work with us in co-production to try, and we're training doctors and nurses to see how dementia patients feel in hospital and what you can do to explain their experience, because my mum had recently been in hospital. And it's after that video that I thought there's actually something I can bring from my experience, and that's I think for me triggered all this.
Yeah. Well, I want to stay there for a moment, ladies. First, I want to say I know how happy Christina and Cindy are to have their UK cousins here, because they're now not the only ones that are two people in a square on Instagram. They yes.
We're a double act.
Yes. So I want to kind of go back, to that moment and really talk about how that friendship evolved into a partnership, though, into dementia advocacy, because I'm sure both of you ladies met several people with your children and at these play groups and things. But what was really the common bond, other than, the parents having Alzheimer's, because I'm sure you didn't know that right off. How did that friendship and partnership really evolve from that point?
Well, I think we just got on from the first, but also we had lots of things in common.
We did, actually. We had some quite bizarre. We're from the local area, but we'd never met each other before. But we had some quite strange links in common.
Yeah.
So my childhood friend was Marielle's neighbour at
living
one point
above. And then when Heidi came into my flat, she was like, "Oh my goodness, this is really weird. Looks, exactly like my
and
friend's
we had some
flat."
friends in common from years ago, but we were introduced by a mutual friend actually, and we used to go to a play group, a church play group with our kids when they were kind of 2, 3, and we just hit it off, didn't we?
We did.
And I think some people you just kind of
know,
you just chat and and you feel relaxed.
And I know that when I've got something that's worrying me about Alzheimer's, about care, about anything, I can just text Heidi, I'll chew her ear off, but I don't have to explain. She understands. So we call each other dementia soul sisters.
Okay.
Because there's a friendship bond and a dementia bond as well. It's very special.
As well, I think for people, it's hard looking after any parent, any elderly parent, but dementia is a very specific it's a challenge. It's a real challenge. And sometimes if you talk to people, your friends that haven't dealt with it, they maybe don't really know what to say and the right things to say. Whereas when you've been through it and you kind of know the situations, it's easier to kind of sympathise and empathise with each other. And sometimes not try and find solutions, because often there aren't solutions. But just to kind of be there as a listening ear.
Sure.
I mean, sometimes there are solutions as well. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Marielle, because of her background in NHS and social care, she was able to help me with some of the information that I didn't know.
So you guys, formed this friendship and then subsequently formed this partnership in dementia advocacy. Whose idea was it to create the Dementia Talk with M&H on Instagram?
I think it was both of us, wasn't it?
Originally, Marielle said, we should do a podcast.
Yes,
we should do a podcast. And I've got a background in television, so I know it's a bit more complicated than just do a podcast, depending on how you want to do it. Obviously, you can do it in the simpler way or a more complicated way. But I said, you know what, just to start off with, let's start with an Instagram account and see if we, anyone's interested at all, and go from there. And that's what we did. So we didn't really expect anything at all. We didn't really know what we were doing. And we hit 2,000 followers a couple of weeks ago, which is more than we'd expected. And it kind of snowballed, and some agencies, care agency, asked us to come in for a chat a while ago. And then we've appeared on a couple of other podcasts as well. And recently we went to do a kind of talk open discussion at the memory clinic in was it Harrow, which is North London as well. And that was great, because we went and we talked to the psychologists, we talked to the social workers, we talked to all the people who maybe have access to carers and people with dementia every day, but maybe don't have the experience of it themselves from a personal perspective.
They're not
and
experts
that's really
by
important, exactly, to kind of, it's not just the effect it has on the person living with dementia, it's the kind of ripple down effect it has on their family, their children, and
Yeah.
our children,
Yeah.
because our children were very young when our parents started getting dementia, and my son and your sons have seen behaviors that are quite upsetting. And it's had an effect on them as well. So I think it's I don't know what it's like in the US, but I know in the UK it maybe dementia isn't something that's been taken seriously enough. It's been seen as an old person's disease. You lose your memory. It's so much more.
Absolutely.
So much more than memory loss. It's devastating.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's this advert that I see locally when I walk around, and it says, if you know someone with dementia, then you are living with dementia. And you really are. It just takes over every aspect of your life.
It does. Yeah.
You're always thinking about it. You're always thinking, when will I get a call? What will happen next? It's just, it's an all-consuming illness. And I think for me, my passion to do a podcast, which I kept saying to Heidi, let's do a podcast. That came from that royal free video.
Yeah.
I think realizing that you can get your message across that way was really eye-opening, and I think it came from there.
I think as well, it's ignited a passion in us that we to help other people, but also to find some joy in the journey, because I think for the first few years, especially because my dad had just passed away and my mum's Alzheimer's was ramping up, I was in fight or flight. I was walking around. I was very depressed. I was not very well in myself, and I couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. And for us now to be in the position we're in now, because we cared alone with our parents for a number of years before paid carers were put in place. And if someone had said to me 9 years ago, you're going to get through it, it's going to be okay, it's going to be tough, and there's going to be new challenges all the time, but you're going to get through it, and then you're going to set up an Instagram account and you're going to go and talk to people about it, I'd be like, oh my goodness, no. And I think we want people to know that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
We're
but
still going.
We're still going, and we're still dealing with it, but it's going to be okay.
I want to, just touch on that real quick. The sign, that you saw, I know I'm fond of saying, and it's, commonly said here in the States, is if you know one person with dementia, you really only know one person, because it can dramatically affect everybody's loved one differently.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
everyone is unique in their dementia.
Yeah.
Nobody's the same. Nobody has the same behaviors. They may have similar behaviors and similar symptoms, but they are very much their own person. You can't just put them in a box. It's like, we're all unique. Well, they're human beings like us. They're all unique. And that, I think, is very important to remember.
Yeah.
And also, everyone has had different experiences with their loved one with dementia in terms of their relationship prior to this happening. We're quite lucky. We both had good relationships with our mothers, but my mum and I would bicker a lot, as mothers and daughters do, and as in the beginning stages of her cognitive decline, that ramped up, because she would accuse me of things that weren't happening. She would say, you said you were coming at 6 o'clock this morning. And I said, no, I wasn't. And things like that. And that's difficult, because it's that relationship you have, but you don't understand that you can't you can't challenge them. You can't make them know that it's not true, because in their head it is true. And I think that's another reason we set up the Instagram, because the tips we give, things like my son said to me, Mum, why do you argue with Natalie? Why don't you just...
My one said the same. My one told me to leave the room and take a breather.
There you go.
And I thought, if a 10-year-old's telling me that, I need to learn something.
See it. You just step away from the situation for a minute. And once you realise that it is the disease and it's not them, and they're not trying to kind of annoy you, but it's hard. It's very hard, because that's the person you love.
Right. Well, and you guys have both mentioned this, and Marielle, you just, referenced your 10-year-old, giving you advice. Another common thread that you both have is that you are sandwich generation caregivers, which, you're juggling kids, work, and caring for parents with Alzheimer's. What has that balancing act taught you both about your resilience and creating boundaries?
I was thinking about that this morning, actually. And I actually said to my husband, I feel that I haven't given as much time as I would have liked to you and the kids. quality 100% time, because we were just firefighting with my mum all the time, and because they were okay and they were doing okay, you just kind of let them get on with it. And they've had a good childhood and I love them and they know that, but they have seen, as Heidi said, behaviors that I would rather they would never have seen. But perhaps that will make them more compassionate human beings. And in terms of resilience, I think you have to be resilient, because you can either just lie down and give up, or you can lie down for a little bit, that's okay, and then get up and carry on, because what can you do? You have to carry on for them, for yourself, for my mum. And she would have wanted me to carry on. She was a really tough, she was a tough lady. So
I sometimes think as well, because as much as I wouldn't have wished for my dad to pass and for having to, care for all those years when my son was so young, I think it has taught him compassion. And in terms of resilience for myself, I think if I'd have been at a different stage in my life, when maybe he was away at university and I was having to deal with it, I think it would have completely overwhelmed me.
Yes.
Because actually I had to sometimes take a step back from it. And when carers eventually came in after 5 years, because she was wandering and she was becoming incontinent, I couldn't physically keep up with it anymore. The guilt of that was outweighed by the guilt of not being there enough for my son. And I think in some ways having the younger children, although it's really hard, kept me going.
Yes, it's a motivation.
It's a motivation. And his friend, I still wanted his friends to come round, and I still wanted him to, have some kind of life. But I think it has taught us to be resilient, because you have to fight the whole way along. You have to fight. My mum's care was self-funded for 2 years. I did it on my own for 5 years. At the moment, she has some funding, which they're currently trying to pull, because she was very ill last year and she had 2 life-threatening illnesses. So some NHS funding was put in place. But now, because she's still alive, a year down the track, they're trying to remove that funding, and it's the constant battle. And you have to advocate for them. When they're in hospital, you have to be there and advocate for them, because they can't advocate for themselves. And sometimes hospitals aren't the best place for people with dementia. I mean, they're getting better. The ward she was in was dementia friendly. They asked questions about her. They had a thing on the wall saying, who I am and what I like. But it's hard. It's very hard. It's not like a person without dementia of that age going to hospital. It's a whole other thing, and you have to be on it. And you look after their finances, you look after their shopping, you look after their well-being, you look after their doctor's appointments,
everything.
Even when they have care, which both of our parents have got some care.
Do all that.
You have to do all of that, and the weight of the decision making is on your shoulders.
Right.
And I think that's tough
huge.
as well.
That's huge.
How do each of you, because I'm sure we have viewers and listeners that struggle with a lot of these issues, being in that sandwich generation. If you have, your mother or, your loved one that has an important appointment, or they're in the hospital and the doctor needs to meet with you, but then you have your child who has parent-teacher conference or, something. And how do you divide and conquer that? Like, what works for you guys?
Well, I think for my mum, the appointments that we had to go to more frequently, both my children by that point were in school. So I used to try and arrange them before 3 p.m. because that's what time they finish in the UK. The few that she had when they were still in nursery, I would pay for extra care, so I would be able to go to them. And now in terms of my working life, I only work 4 days a week, so that I have a spare day so that I can juggle. If she has an appointment, perhaps that doesn't fall on the day I don't work, I can swap that day. So it's even now, even though the children are older, I'm still having to juggle that. And now they're at a point where they can be on their own at home. They're old enough. But yes, there was a lot of juggling, and my friends would step in, and my husband he's helped a lot as well. So I
think you have to get a network.
You do. You need some.
You have to get a network of friends that can step in and help. Both my partner and your husband, they've been very good, because we haven't got the family support. It's kind of you just have to get creative with it. I had the problem with my mum because she used to go wandering, both before and after she had care, when she was still mobile. She's not mobile now. And a friend of mine kept saying, get a video doorbell, get a video. And I was like, oh, and that was a game changer, getting a video doorbell, because she lives near. So every time she left the house, you know, we could bundle into the car and go and grab her and intercept her. It's not the best thing to do, but it allowed her to stay in her home at that time. And tech stuff is so helpful. So she's had a tracker, and I've got a hallway monitor for her as well. And things like that you don't necessarily think about.
Right.
Just small things, like she used to hide her remote control all the time. She used to hide it, put it in strange places, or put her glasses in strange places, and you have to go searching for them. And just thinking about things and think, well, I'll always have the spare pair of glasses, and they will go up there, and she won't touch those, or
spare pair of teeth, or something.
Whatever. I used to go on Amazon or Google or whatever, and just
buy everything in spare,
everything in pairs, or try and find the same remote control, because if you try and change something at that point, that would completely throw her. You know, her phone broke at one point, and it caused me 2 weeks of stress because I couldn't find exactly the same old phone that she understood how to use. And eventually I did find one. But it's all these things that you don't think about, and you start to second guess them, actually.
Yes.
You start to second guess them, and there's things that I wish I'd known at the beginning about certain technology, certain things that can be provided by the local councils in the UK. And people don't always tell you.
No.
And even getting a diagnosis is quite a difficult process.
And I think looking on the internet, doing searches, joining charities, I suppose you have something like Alzheimer's US, I presume, things like that. You know, that could be helpful. Talking to people, what else was helpful? Luckily, I had my work background, so lots of people gave me lots of tips. I was very lucky to be in that, situation. And just trying to take it one day at a time. I remember at the point where she was telling me that everyone was stealing her stuff and she was putting it in a safe place, I remember going in there and thinking, oh no, I've got to look for this again. And I'd be spending 45 minutes going through her cupboards. And I remember someone telling me, just stop, take a deep breath, and then carry on, just because it can get so stressful. You're getting really hot, you're getting tearful, and and actually, if you can't find it, unless it's absolutely urgent, just wait, maybe to the next day, and then you might find it more easily.
Or you might find they've forgotten about it.
Or they've forgotten about it.
That's another thing. I mean, something that can be such a big deal for them.
Yeah, and also, like, we've learned this through the journey, don't argue with them. Just go ahead with it. Just, adapt to their reality. And if today I'm her sister, tomorrow I could be her mum, day 3 I'm Marielle, or it could change from hour to hour. That's fine as well. I used to get very upset, but now I just go along with it. I think he's happy that way. Let's go with it.
I think it's accepting each stage of their the dementia that it does change. There's a tipping point, and it keeps going and going and going. And you are grieving the loss of that person as they still live, but you can still find those glimpses of joy with them, and it's hard, but sometimes my mum will laugh, or she likes eating a biscuit, she loves a custard cream, and I'll see her smile and she really likes sweet things, or you can still find elements of joy. And it's very hard, and I did not feel that the first sort of 5 years. I felt very resentful. I didn't want to be in that position. I didn't want to be her caregiver. I was angry with my dad for dying, and I think as well, you need to speak to the GP yourself about how you're feeling, because mental health is very important. And I think people with dementia caregivers especially suffer from that, and ask for help. You can't be strong for them if you're having a breakdown. You just have to.
Well, and I think you mentioned it, Heidi, the grief in so many families that we speak to. The hardest part for them is the anticipatory grief, because you don't know,
and it's over and over.
And that's so emotionally and physically draining, just not knowing day to day what to expect, but what the end result at some point will be. You just don't know when it will be. Before we go to Cindy and Christina, I just want to mention a couple of things. I just have one more question for you. Good friends of ours, and I'm a brand ambassador for them in the UK, is the Purple Angels. Are you familiar with them?
No, we'll
Yeah.
Google them.
Yeah,
Urban
you
Angels,
Google
we're gonna Google
them. Yeah, and the founder is Norman,
Yeah.
or he goes by Norms McNamara.
Okay,
And
okay.
he's an incredible advocate there in the UK that started
Yeah.
this nonprofit for dementia, families. Incredible
Brilliant.
resource for you guys. But before we go to Cindy and Christina, I just want to say, Marielle, you've been part of a video campaign with the Royal Free Trust, and
Yeah.
Heidi, you've written your book, Milk Tulips. What inspired each of you to really start these projects, and what impact have they had on your advocacy?
You go first.
Okay.
I'm gonna think.
I had written so many notes in my diaries and my phone about my mum's progression of the dementia and little things she did and funny incidents. Also poems, because I've got another Instagram account where I write poems, and it used to be all about my son, and then suddenly it was all about my mum and about dementia and about grief. And I thought, I'm going to publish a book. I'm going to self-publish, see what happens. And it's a mix of poems, personal anecdotes, and tips for dementia caregivers. And there's some information at the back of people you can get in contact with, and other Instagram accounts that are helpful to follow. And for me, it was just, my story is personal, but it's everyone's story. Certain things happened while my mum was getting dementia, which is my dad died. I sadly lost a baby at that time. My son was only 4. And it was a terrible time. My partner got made redundant, and it was awful. I mean, it was just awful in so many ways. But I just think if someone could read that and think, she got through that, and it was a really difficult time. And it wasn't just that, there was so many other things going on that they might find comfort from it. I didn't expect to sell any at all, because self-published books on Amazon, it's kind of like throwing a stone into the ocean. It's quite hard to get traction. But because of the account as well, I've had like 240 orders now, which is amazing, more than I ever expected.
Brilliant.
I try and run free promotions on Kindle whenever I can, whenever they allow it. They only allow it once a month, I think. Giving away copies as giveaways, a few to the States, actually. And I've had such lovely comments and feedback from people who have either cared for someone with dementia who's still alive or has passed. And they've said it's like reading my life. It's like reading what I went through. And it's so nice to know someone knows what I went through, what I'm going through. And that means everything to me, because at times where honestly you don't think you can carry on, to know that you're going to help someone to not feel like that is amazing. And if something can come out of that darkness, that's amazing to me. And if they can read my poem and be moved by it, but also inspired by it to keep going, that's all we want, really, isn't it?
It's worth it. And I think that's the same reason when I was contacted by the Royal Free Hospital through a carer centre, would I do it? And I thought, I wasn't sure. And I thought, would my mum want me to do it? Would she want me to be talking about it? Because, she's quite a private person.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, actually, she would want me to be helping other people, because she spent her life helping other people. She's an amazing lady. And I thought, I'm going to do it for her. And I'm going to do it for me as well, because then I'm doing something for myself to bring me out this grief. And like Heidi says, if it's helping people, if it helps clinicians understand why somebody in hospital with Alzheimer's is getting aggressive, it's not they're aggressive, it's because they've got an unmet need. They could be cold, they could be hungry, they could be in pain. And also to get people to have more awareness of dementia, that's really important for me, to understand that people with dementia are still there, even though they may, they may have different behaviors, even if some people withdraw, other people display aggressive behaviors, they are still very much there. That human being is still there. That's very important to me. And I want that to be acknowledged at societal level. And I don't think it is being acknowledged. And I think people are still scared about talking about Alzheimer's. And yet we all know someone, or someone who knows someone else.
Yeah.
And I think we need to talk about it, and we need to help people care with people for Alzheimer's. You can't do it on your own. You can't.
Absolutely.
You lose your sanity.
And I think it's setting up as well. because like you said, Lance, earlier about the whole sandwich generation thing, and you know, it's going to happen more and more because we're having kids a bit later and parents are older. It's setting up a future generation of health issues for the carers. That's what I think, because one of the biggest things is you neglect your own health for their appointments. There's so many times over the last 10 years where I've missed appointments. I haven't checked out things myself. I haven't looked after myself. I've just had a hip replacement, which probably could have been delayed had I looked after myself earlier. And I think that's what the governments of every country need to understand. It's not just affecting that older person with dementia. It's everybody. And the stress it puts on the caregivers mentally and physically, they're going to end up paying for it at some point anyway. So I think there needs to be more understanding, more support, more dementia communities as well. Because I know in the States, like, you know, I've seen the memory care facilities for people with dementia seem a lot different to what we have here, which is normally a care home which may or may not have an understanding of dementia. There's not kind of specific environments, and I think that needs to change as well. For people.
And attitudes towards dementia, you know, treating them with respect, treating them with dignity, taking your time to listen to them, their stories, you know, they're always good stories. Even if my mum doesn't understand all that's going on now, I went round last week, I was feeling really down. She could see it in my eyes. What's wrong? What's wrong? Do you need a biscuit? You need a biscuit. You need chocolate. And you know what? That was quite comforting.
Sure.
Because I thought even with her advanced Alzheimer's, she's still being my mum. She said, lie down on that sofa and eat chocolate.
That's always the answer.
Ladies, I'm going to turn it over to Cindy and Christina. And again, thank you guys so much for being with us today. Cindy, Christina?
Yeah, I was just, Christina and I, we have our social media and we do caregiving things and we try to support a lot of people. And you guys have your Dementia Talk with M&H. And I know that you supply so much support to so many people. But how has, I know you guys were excited about doing that and you talked about maybe doing a podcast, but how does that help you? I mean, because, it's just, speak to that aspect because you're helping so many others, but what does that do for you?
For me, just being able to share our experiences, because you feel so lonely at the beginning of the kind of whole dementia thing, you felt there was a point of time where, my dad had just passed away and my mum's cognition was getting worse. She didn't have a diagnosis. And I felt wretched. And I wasn't on Instagram at the time, which is a shame because there's some wonderful accounts, apart from us, there's some wonderful, a lot of US accounts actually, that are amazing. I wish I'd have been on it then. And my one saving thing was you and also the Alzheimer's Association. And they had a dementia talking point, which is amazing. You can, post a comment and wait for a reply, but it's not immediate. No. That's the only thing. So you post a message and then in the evening I'd log on and say, oh, what does that person think? And that could be incredibly helpful. But I think to be able to help other people, and it's not just on Instagram, a lot of my friends are in the same situation now, and we've been able to point them in the right direction of funding or of technical things that will help around the home. Things you might not have thought about. And I never want anyone to feel like I did.
We felt very alone.
To feel like that.
We felt very isolated. And I remember one particular instance, this is well before we created this, where we sat in the pub. Heidi was having a glass of wine and I had 10 packets of mini Maltesers and munched through the whole lot. And actually, it's okay to do that from time to time,
Right.
And to know that you're not alone. And we hope that from sharing our stories and different tips on our Instagram, people will realize that, and it's okay to feel low. You can't feel on an up all the time.
And I think
it's just not possible.
It helps you to feel creative as well.
Yeah, the creative aspect.
Bring a creative. We did a lovely podcast recently with a lady who does an account called
Wild Creative, or
I can't remember the name. The Wilderness of Creativity.
That's it,
Probably getting dementia. No, the Wilderness of Creativity. She's wonderful, and she wanted to speak to us about how creativity can be used in dementia caregiving, and it can be not just in terms of you have to be very creative in the things you say to them, and maybe a bit of an actor sometimes. But art can be really good for them. Music. A friend of mine, her mum used to be an opera singer, and sadly now has dementia, Alzheimer's, and she's been going to a singing thing recently in her area, which has really helped. And I think about the things that they used to enjoy, and they might still want to do those things, and that can kind of wake up something in them.
And I think for me, the Instagram account has woken up a sense of purpose, a sense of excitement, passion. I feel really passionate about this whole thing. It gets me up in the morning. The thought of coming on with you guys, the thought of doing this is what I want to do. I always love drama. In a way, it's a kind of drama, you coming to be able to talk to people. But it's more than drama, because it's actually helping people and helping ourselves cope with this. And we love talking. We love talking.
It's really interesting. This whole social media realm is very, very interesting, but I love hearing that from you guys, because I know a lot of what we do is just out of passion, and people and people would look at you and say, you're so busy and you've got this going on, you've got kids and you've got
parents buzzing. It helps you buzz, doesn't it?
As well, when you're doing something you want to do, you find the time to do it.
That's exactly right.
You find the time to do it, because I can I not want to clean my house, but I'll want to write a post for our next post, or start on my next poem or whatever. And I think when you've got that purpose and passion, like you said, purpose, it does ignite something in you. And I used to be a TV producer many years ago before I had my son, and so that's good as well. So it's kind of reigniting that kind of producer element as well. So it's through something that's awful and tragic. Actually, I don't want to say tragic, I don't like that word, but it's very hard and challenging and sad at times, to find some lightness from it. And the other night when I was feeling very stressed, Heidi was probably asleep at this point, but I was sending her all these links on WhatsApp. I thought of this we can do this, we can do this, we can do that. I was Googling this, putting on that. But actually, after an hour, my stress had subsided, and I thought, I've just done something useful. Hopefully not woken up Heidi in the process. But I think that's the thing as well. When you help other people, it makes you feel better, doesn't it? It does. If you helping someone else, or being able to talk to someone else, or maybe saying one thing that might help someone else, or make their experience a little bit easier, that makes a difference, doesn't it? It makes a difference. So we're all connected. We are all connected. And the good thing about social media, there's a lot of bad about it, but it connects people all over the world, and it can give people and a lot of caregivers who care full time aren't able to get out to clubs and stuff, because they're in it full time in the trenches, and an Instagram account or something that's very immediate could really help them in that moment.
We're giving them a voice.
Yes, absolutely. I love that.
And that's what we want to do. We're giving them a voice, because when you're tired and you're exhausted, you might not have time to do this, that, and the other. And they need a voice as much as the person with dementia needs a voice.
That's right. On your Instagram, are there any common themes or common questions that you find are coming up more frequently than others? Anything that people are really wanting to know about or asking you about?
I think it's just people wanting to know how to feel about it more than anything. It's how do you feel about this person who you love, but you're losing them bit by bit. And I think it's kind of adapting to the new reality, because it is a grieving process. And I think people feel it's the end of the world, and it feels like it at the beginning, and it's fear. But I think one of the things that we're always saying is knowledge is important. The more you know, the less scary it is, and the more people you talk to, the less scary it is. And I think find some kind of community, whether it's online or local. Reach out to people, call an Alzheimer's support line. Don't go it alone all the time. I mean, one of the biggest things in the UK is, and I'm sure in the US as well, it's the issue of funding. And the NHS will pay for certain things, they won't pay for other things. That's stressful as well.
Yeah.
And obviously that's different in every
it's
area.
difficult to navigate. So also comments about, how do we navigate? Where do you find that information? It's not always obvious where to go for this.
You have to dig. You have
really
to dig
need
for
to
things.
know. If you don't dig or you don't know, it's quite a challenging path.
Yeah, absolutely. I I love the idea of the community that you guys are building, and I think it's really all about community. It really is.
Yeah.
And as I'm a speech therapist, and so one of my favorite areas to work with are people that were living with dementia. I was in long-term care, worked in a nursing home, but I loved working with the residents that were in the memory care, like we were talking about. So I would have to educate my families of my patients.
Yes.
You live in their world. They don't live in your world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What I used to call them is a therapeutic lie. So because the family, I feel like they were really concerned about lying to their loved one. But it was something that they had to, that the family member kind of had to, it was a process that they had to work through. And I felt like that was my job as the speech therapist, was to help them with that process. And I think building that community and learning that you are in their world, you can learn so much information. And it might not be true.
You can.
But
but it's still really interesting.
Stop fighting it.
Yeah.
Stop swimming against the tide. That's what I was doing at the beginning. I was trying to make her remember. I was like, no, but this. And it's absolutely pointless.
Yeah.
And yes, the little white lies.
Yeah.
One of the most annoying things I had someone say to me, which was actually someone from a memory clinic, because I was trying to get them to come to my mum to assess her at home, because I said, if I have to bring her in, apart from the fact her walking was really bad then, I won't get her there because she doesn't think anything's wrong. I will not get her in the car. So eventually they said that they would come to the home to assess her. And I said, I'm going to say it's a checkup, a health checkup. And the person on the phone said, I always think honesty is the best policy. You have to tell her. And I said, I'm sorry, have you actually dealt with anyone with dementia before? Because she thinks my dad, who passed away 2 years ago, is alive half the time. Should I tell her that as well? And that's the thing, the lack of understanding. I mean, that wasn't a practitioner, that was an admin person. But things like that, of course, a little white lie. You have to go along with stuff.
I mean, my mum will ask me regularly who is alive among her brothers and sisters. Now, depending on the situation, I have to adapt. The way she asks me most of the time, I'll either try and change the subject, or sometimes I have to tell her that they're still alive, because she will get very distressed. But when she asks me the question in such a way that I can either give a yes or a no, sometimes I have to give her a yes. So it depends. You have to read that situation. You have to really read it, because you don't want them going through grief all over again. On the other hand, they're not fools. They're still, and they can tell. They're watching your expressions. They're watching your eyes. So you really need to adapt. You
have to become a bit of a detective, because there was a period of time where my mum forgot who I was quite a long time ago, but she knew I was Heidi, but she didn't know I was her daughter. But some days she did. So I would have to kind of, if she said, oh, my husband Peter, I would know that I was her friend that day. Or she said, oh, Dad said this, I knew I was her daughter. And sometimes I'd get it wrong. But it is that kind of, you're picking up the cues, you get to know them really well. Yeah. They're little, I can't think of the word, foibles.
And little things. And you can tell by the way they're looking, and as someone with dementia, I think, well, you must know this from your work. They look at clues in your eyes. They look at your body language. They're looking at everything, because they may not understand other stuff, but they're still picking up in another way. So you need to be very aware of what they're picking up.
That's right. They're aware of more than you think they are as well, because my mum's got some amazing carers now, two main carers, so who are not full-time, but they do overnights and they pop in during the day. And over the Christmas period, they had to put different people in. And I didn't think about it at the time. They put in the rotation about 10 different people. And she was so confused. And even though she doesn't generally know who's coming in and who they are, she did know. She did know, and that's the weird thing. And she was confused, and she said people were coming and going, and then they fall on the floor. But that wasn't true. But she knew something was up. She knew something wasn't right. And so I said to them, next time we need, maximum of 3 in the mix for maximum when her main carers go away, because they do know, and they know so much more than people think.
Yeah.
And it's that understanding.
Yeah. They're still communicative human beings.
Oh, they really are.
So they understand. They might not be able to tell you and write a dissertation anymore or go into some kind of reasoning, but they still pick up on the nonverbals, and
they do. They really do.
On the energy that's in the room and stuff. So I really appreciate you guys touching on that, because as a speech therapist, that is so important. And that's one thing that I would always try to get across to my families and stuff.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. You guys are full of great information. What pieces of advice would you give a brand new caregiver? I heard you both talk about being dropped into it like overnight. So what pieces of advice would you give a brand new caregiver so that they didn't feel so alone?
For me, the first thing I would say is, because it took me, because my dad had just passed away, it took me 5 years to get my mum to a diagnosis. And that was because she did not know, genuinely did not know anything was wrong. She didn't know there was anything wrong with her memory. She didn't know that her hallucinations weren't real. And I felt some kind of sense of guilt or betrayal to go behind her back. And eventually I did go behind her back. I had to, and I spoke to the GP, and that kind of set wheels in motion to get her a diagnosis. I would say to anyone, speak to that person. If they have some acceptance of it, then try and get them to go to the doctor with you straight away. If they react badly, try again a third time, try again a fourth time. If that really doesn't happen, you've got to go and speak to someone. You've got to go and speak to someone. It's not a betrayal. You're doing it for them. I wish I could go back and have got the diagnosis quicker and got her on that medication quicker, because it might have made the difference. Yeah. I didn't, because I felt I was betraying her. And now I realize, and in fact, someone said to me, I can't remember who it was, there gets to a point where it's not about what they want, but it's what they need, respectfully, because at some point they don't really know what's best for them. So you need to get that diagnosis, you need to get that support, and don't wait for 5 years, I would say. And the other thing is, don't argue. I was just going to say that. Do you remember? Never argue. I wish I could rewind and go back in time and not have those arguments, saying, but no, don't you remember it, Anyway, that was what I would say. How about you?
For me, I remember being in that memory clinic when they gave her the diagnosis, which she didn't accept. She said to them, I do not have Alzheimer's, I have old age, and I'm going gaga. She's French, my mum. That was quite interesting. But I remember that devastation, that loneliness. And again, although she had a diagnosis, I was scared to give her the medication that they'd prescribed for her. So I ummed and ahed for about 3 months, and eventually it was a really nice GP who took the time to listen to me, who convinced me that it was best for her. So I think is just ask people for help, reach out to people, and also at the very beginning, your person with dementia is still very much present. Enjoy those moments. I was just so devastated that I think I missed out on many moments. I think I made her sad because she saw my sadness. I think we could have done, we did try and do loads. We went to art classes. We took her on every holiday that we could until she couldn't. Just enjoy that time with them. Just enjoy it.
I think that's so true. Now,
and don't argue.
I wish there were certain points where I wish sometimes she used to phone me 10 times a day, especially in lockdown. And talk to me about something bizarre, and I'd see the phone ringing and think, oh my goodness, again, the 10th phone call today, and I need to do some work, or I need to do something. Or she'd be wandering, and we'd see her on the doorbell monitor, and we'd all pile in a car. We've got to get Nanny back in the house, everyone's in the car. And I hated those times because they were really stressful. But now I'd long to see her leaving the house, because she's immobile now. She's bedbound. I'd love to see her name pop up on my phone. So it's weird, even the things, and I say this in my book as well, even the things you think are really hard at the time, you're going to miss them. You're going to miss that last phone call. You're going to miss that last time you have to get them back in the house, because it's like when you have kids and you don't know it's the last time you're going to read to them, the last time, you know, you take them to school. You don't know when the last time is. So it's really hard to say it when you're in the trenches and you're in that moment, but try and make those moments count.
Yeah. And another piece of advice is actually, I was very lucky. I've had some very good local doctors around here and who spent a lot of time chatting to me and listening to me. And one of them said to me, his mum had Alzheimer's. So he understood. And he said, you know what? He said, don't waste the next 10 years. Go and have as much spaghetti bolognese with her as you can. And, you know, I think he was just trying to tell me, don't just look towards the worst possible scenario. Just live each day as it comes. And you know, he's right. So thank you. You know, thank you, Dr. Bez. You know who you are. But and also reach out for help. And it's okay to ask for help. So if you need to get some care in, that's okay. I didn't want to get some care in because I was terrified that I would look like a failure. My mum wouldn't accept it and they would put her in a care home. But in the end, you know, we got care and she's still in her home at the moment with the care. So it's all right to ask for help because you're not superhuman.
I think as well as women, you know, there's obviously main carers, but I think we feel like we've got to do all of it all the time, you know, don't we? With the kids, with the and sometimes you can't. And also when you've got younger families as well, sometimes you've got to put them first, which I felt I really struggled with because I felt like it was my mum, my son, my partner down at the somewhere. And you kind of have to address that balance at some point because it does have a massive effect.
It does,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
But as well, I think even the dark times at the beginning, you do come out of it.
You do
come out of it, and it's yes, we know it's a disease that doesn't get better. We know that, but there'll still be times of joy and moments of joy. And once you stop holding on to your old version of them, and kind of go with the flow, with the bizarre stories, with whatever they're saying, with their, you know, with their cognition going, with their mobility going, but you go along with it and learn to find those small moments of joy because it's not all dark and it's not all terrible all the time. And you've got to hold on to those kind of glimmers of the old person, you know, their old self. That
I love it. I love it, you guys. That's fantastic. I'll tell you what, so you guys talked about a podcast, and I'm going to tell you, I would be the first person to sign up for it. I think it's an awesome
that's wonderful.
I would totally sign up for that because, and I'm going to tell you, make sure it's a video because I want to see your cute little mugs on there too. Okay, so make sure it's a video podcast.
We would love that. There you go. That's going to give me an incentive to start working.
That's it. That's good.
Having said that, what's next for M&H?
What's next?
Wow, who knows?
We're going to do some reels, aren't we? We're going to do some reels.
More video reels as well, because a lot of our stuff is kind of more inspirational things or things without us. We're going to start doing more stuff with us, videos of us and and we want to I want to speak to our local art centre actually and go into art centres which are dementia friendly, because our borough, which is Barnet,
is dementia
friendly, and we want to go and see what that means and what they're doing and that kind of thing. And we're doing another talk in Hounslow in July. End of July. A memory clinic.
So that's a memory clinic, but more with the health side involved. So that's more explain to them, and perhaps they will be able to adapt what we say at a more strategic level, which will help people as well. So that's very exciting. That's very exciting because that is what I've always wanted to do. That's my passion, because I've worked in health and social care, is to try and change things at that level. So never did I imagine we would be doing that. I just think that's amazing.
We've done so much more than we ever thought would happen. And we've got loads of ideas. We just need to contain them and work out what we're doing first, because we're like,
and I'd love there to be a monthly podcast. That's what I'd like.
We're going
to work on
it. I've also written a book for children called Forget Me Not Nanny, which I'm currently, it's done, but I just need to get the illustrations finished. So I'm hoping to publish that this year as well for the little kids, because, you know, like my son, there are some great books out there already, but
there are.
To give to a younger child who maybe is experiencing
great idea.
In the family.
It's very hard. I mean, my oldest, he was very close to my mum, so it's hit him really hard. to see that change. And he's a very private person and he really doesn't want to talk about it or how he feels. My youngest, who's more used to her being like that, I mean, he just takes it in his stride. He's telling me, why do you always talk about dementia? She's not got dementia, she's nanny. She's nanny. That is how she is. Yeah. And that's what I'm used to. And he'll go around there and she could be saying all sorts of things. He just takes his coat off. He lies down next to her in the armchair and they start sharing some chocolate or chatting. She will tell him the most bizarre things at times. It doesn't faze him. And I think we can all learn from that childlike innocence in a way of just accepting.
And stop expecting people to be the way we want them to be. Because
he says to me, stop, the eldest used to tell me as well, stop arguing with her, just enjoy her. And when I start crying, because I cry a lot, why are you crying? She's still here. And that's true. She's still here. She's still here. She's still in the present. She hasn't gone yet, they said to me.
Right. That's right.
And I think, from a child's point of view, they see things very differently to us.
They do. I think we try and pull back the past and not let go of it. And you have to. You can have those memories still, but you can make new memories.
Yeah, and that's important.
Even if they're just for you.
You can't live in the past because that gets you down. And if you live in the future, that's very daunting as well. It's trying to live in this present moment.
I love that. That's great. That's a great piece of advice to end on, ladies.
Go with it like a child. Go with it.
I love that. I think that's fantastic.
From a child's point of view, honestly, he walks in, all right, Nanny, how are you? And they carry on and she'll tell him, look, that guy on the TV is talking to me. Yeah. And
Thank you.
Go with the flow.
Thank you for that great piece of information and all that great advice. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to throw it back to Lance.
All right, Cindy, Christina, thank you, ladies. Marielle, Heidi, thank you guys so much for, just being vulnerable and sharing your stories and really trying to advocate and just raise awareness for others that are going through similar circumstances. Thank you also for Dementia Talk with M&H. We'll have that up on the screen. We'll put it in the show notes.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And thank you both and all the best, going forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I will be the second to sign up for your podcast.
Yeah, fantastic.
Since the ladies beat us to it, but thank you again, and
it's been brilliant.
Our pleasure. It's our pleasure. Anything we can do to help support your work, we're here. Feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And now I want to go to our Adaptive Equipment Caregiving Corner tip of the month.
Tough, we're by your side. Adaptive Equipment and Caregiving Corner, your guide. Helping seniors stay strong and free, with love and care and harmony. We'll show you how we'll make it fit. Your health and safety
joining us again here this month at the Caregivers Journal, where we're talking with real caregivers about their caregiving stories. We look forward to seeing you again here next month.